All right, so we got the front end back off on this morning. Took another snow day off. If there's snows on the ground, we ain't working. So it's going to end up being a 4.5 day weekend, being we only work till 11 a.m. on Friday. Looks like I'll go in for a couple hours on Friday and then be right back at it. So we're trying to make some progress. Pulled the front end back off so we can do these other mounts. And we're going to clean up these mounts and box them. Now, I still only have one set of bolts. If you recall in previous video, I did not buy 4 bolts because the links were wrong, A, and B, the prices were way too much local. So I got some coming on a boat over from China and just waiting for them to get here. So we're going to have to use the bolts on this side, do the mounts, and then we'll take our rod out over there and move the bolts over there, move the rod over here, just to hold stuff in place. But on this, remember in the previous video, we numbered our templates so we know what we're working with. So it looks like number 1 is going to be a good fit for this one. We notched that a little bit and we should be good to go. And then number 2 looks like it's going to be a good fitment for back here as far as height wise. By the time we notch that a little bit, we'll be good to go. Now, if you notice, our engine mount is right here in the way, and I've done some more thinking on this. I was going to come in here and cut this straight about right here. Okay, on the other side of that weld that's back there, right there. I was gonna cut this straight through and just cap that flat, this engine mount flat whenever it comes out. However, we could get a little bit of strength if we could incorporate this engine mount into this piece, which I don't know is gonna be possible, but I think we have enough room to slip in our engine, our upper control arm mount like that. We just need a radius out this, maybe 45, cut this back, I'm thinking. Just radius this out a little bit so that we can still get the nut on there. So right now we can get the nut on there, there's enough room for clearance, but by the time we add a plate, we're not gonna be able to get the nut in there. So I'm thinking just take the grinding disc before we put this one on, take the control arm off, get it out the way, and take the grinding disc and radius this out. That's what I'm thinking right now. All right, so here is our first box done. Now we'll get it all welded up down here, over. I didn't want to put a lot of heat into it because we still do have the poly bushings in there, so we don't want to do that until we take it out. Now the bottoms get all cleaned up, and then this plate is actually longer than this plate. So I've kind of drew a line straight across, even though I'm gonna have to move that line to here. It's gonna basically get cut to mimic this one. It probably won't be identically the same. We did put a relieve cut out like this. The suspension does go down a little bit more, but that way with the suspension down, we can get on it to our grease fitting. We want to be able to get a 90-degree piece on there to grease that bushing all up. So that's the first one. I think it turned out great. The bottom pieces, how they overhang, how everything overhangs the frame like that, we will be building triangles that go back. We'll probably go all the way down to here and try to match, mimic this angle all the way down and tie it all in. But not worried about that right now. That can be details that can be done later, or when everything is broke down, or just whenever. It's not, we're locked in the top here where our engine would be, and that's really all that matters. So now we're just going to duplicate 3 more. This is going to end up taking me literally all day Thursday. By the time you make each of these pieces and trim this stuff back, it's going to be a slow process. So let me get after it. All right, so with this back one, we want to make sure that now we have changed our pin from the center hole to, we want to make the alignment all the way back in these sliding spots, because on this side, we got to be able to get this bolt in. So I have worked for quite a while now with the grinder and the file clearancing this. But as you can see, we are rolled all the way back as far as it can go. And we're actually literally like hitting right there, just to make sure that we can get this nut on and off. All right, so let's see here. That literally can go on and off. And it might need a little bit more, but I think we're good. The new bolts, when they come in, they're gonna be a little bit longer, but I feel pretty good that this side is clearanced enough. We'll double check one more time. Might need to go ahead and grind it out some more to be safe, but we want to be able to come straight off. But that's pretty much, I think we need a little bit more out of there. As I say, that's pretty much straight off of that bolt though. But you got to make sure you got all your clearances when you're building this kind of stuff, that nothing's going to hit, you know. All right, so I had somebody comment on the channel one time that that they can't stand watching some of this because it's all common sense and boring, I guess. But we try to cover everything to help everybody out that's beginner, so this is not for an expertise channel. When I'm setting these tabs, we're going on almost 3/4 of a day, and we're just on the back of this. This is a lot to make sure that they're correct. So I'm setting them, and they got play. So basically, I've got my pins in the center of the hole on this. This would be even harder if you had the sweeping style tabs, if you were trying to do some kind of car that had sweeping tabs, such as the factory GMC tabs on these. But these have circles, so they're very precise, and that allows me to bolt it up. But I'm putting my stud in the center because they have play, meaning that on this side also, we're putting it in the center. All right. What that does, and it's kind of important no matter what kind of tabs you're using or with your upper control arms, is you got to make sure your bolts are perfectly straight through. So being we have these ovals cut out of it, you know, like this, you could get your tab crooked and the oval be uphill, whereas the other oval is like this. Does that make sense? So both ovals have to be through there. One can't be like this and then the other one like this. Or yes, the bolt will go through where you're setting them at, but then as you slide the bolt, I'm not welding right now, Jojo. What are you doing? Were you out in the snow?
Yeah.
Whenever your bolt went through, you know, if it was perfect back there in the back, as it went forward, it would want to roll like this. All right, does that make sense? And then that's going to want to twist the control arm and pull up on that side. So it would be an absolute nightmare if all 4 of your tabs were not set the same, if you have tabs that are, you know, have sliders for the bolts. What are you doing, girl?
Nothing.
Is it cold outside? Is there still a lot of snow, or is it melting away?
There's still lost in.
Is there? Good job. Give me a high five. Oh, you got your mitts on.
It's gloves.
Gloves.
It's cold.
All right, so we got that side done, and then I stopped to take a break to go play with Harper in the snow. It's important to spend time with your kids, especially on snow days. She's all by herself, so had to make sure we went and did a golf cart ride and pulled her around on the boogie board in the backyard. So I'm gonna try to knock out the other side. This side, right before I decided to stop to go take a break, play with Harper, went ahead and cut this one back. Cut this side back. So these are pretty much done. The pieces are tacked on. I'm not gonna completely burn them in. You don't need them. So I'm gonna assemble this side back, put the control arm back in, and then move on to the other side. And like I said, later on, we'll gusset these things down. That gloomy, dark look right there, look at that. That is beautiful. That's what I love. All right, so we finally have our all 4 of our boxes done. They're basically tacked together, and everything is put in. Just a snug fit. Probably should have put, if I could go back and redo it, recommendation, put 1 washer in there probably for paint. I'm not too worried about it. They should still go. It's not going to be, paint's not going to be really thick up in there. It's literally just going to be single stage over it. So we'll be fine. But anytime you're worried about paint on your project, the fitment, just put like a washer in there. We set these cam bolts on center because that's where we built everything off of. Just like that. Kit only came with 1 per arm, so you got 1 for this one, 1 for this one, and not double on both sides. I guess you don't really need double. I think we might go ahead and maybe order the sweeping style factory GM ones for the back sides. That way it locks it down. This side locks it in from moving, but the other side will be factory. Now this one over here, when we take the engine out and we go to do the final fit up stuff, we're going to have to cut this. I'll show you here in a second. This piece is curved the way it's designed. But all I'm trying to do is kind of just put this thing together and keep it moving. Part of me wants to start welding stuff together, but I also know that we have a lot of stuff that's heat sensitive, nearby things that we can't get to right now. So like our engine mount here, this rubber, if we start burning this piece in 100%, the frame's gonna get really hot, and then the rubber's gonna get hot, so you really need to take the engine mount out. So I think it's still gonna be best to hang true to our original plan of just getting everything built so we know where everything goes. And then when we disassemble everything, we final weld everything out. That's how most hot rod builders I have been watching do it anyway, is they don't really burn it all the way in. And that's definitely a mistake that I made when I was building the Comet, is getting ahead of yourself and then having stuff really burnt in when you have to change it up. I think we're going to move on next to the airbags. I've really been kind of stuck in this position. I have stumbled through these 4. I haven't lost motivation necessarily, but it's just kind of getting to the stage of, I feel like I'm knocking on where I want to finalize stuff, so I want to stop and just knock everything out and get everything done. But we're clearly not there yet. I keep asking myself, how far do we want to move with mock-up before we start finalizing stuff? I think the correct answer is all the way. Like, the car needs to be completely assembled. That's technically mock-up. And then pull it apart. We have little pieces like right here. These are going to need triangle gussets on every single one. So that alone is 8 custom triangle gussets. And part of me wanted to go ahead and tack them in this morning, but And then I was like, well, how about if we have to change something or modify? They're not important. The control arms are solid how they are right now. So let's just skip them. You know, the end caps, the same thing on the end of this frame rail. They're going to need end caps. But we might be putting our brake lines and our air lines in the frame. They might be coming straight off of here and going in the frame. I did purchase a piece. It's pretty cool. But then I also asked myself, how much do we want to get involved on pieces that you're not going to really see? You know, we could do a really trick piece where we run the brake lines and the air lines into the frame. But then if the rest of our work is not up to par on the same level, then it's kind of a waste of time to spend so much time on that. Whereas we could literally do a bracket down here on the bottom of the frame rail that the brake lines and air lines went in traditionally like a little tab, and then they went around the back of the frame rail and you don't really see them. That would be 10 times faster, multiple times cheaper, and just simpler overall. And so that's why I'm kind of at the point in the build where you're asking yourself, do we want to get too carried away? Or do we want to just keep this build where it looks great, it's nice, but it's not got little pieces of radical over the top things in here? You know, maybe we save that for the next build. Maybe we just kind of get through this one and make a really nice daily cruiser that doesn't have too many over the top features. So a little bit of struggle there this morning. I think I'm gonna grab the bags and the brackets though, and we're gonna go ahead and try to figure out these front bag mounts. That way they're done, because I want to put the front end back on the car, but when I put the front end on, I kind of don't want to go back in here too much, and that means that we're going to have to figure out bags, travel limiter, and we still need to figure out shocks at some point. This is what I meant on that one, how we did the curved plate. So you can see we have the engine mount, and we curved the plate basically in there. So it looks really good. This one needs to be cut back. But what's gonna have to happen is we're gonna have all this engine stuff out the way, and then we'll have to make, you know, a straight cut with a cutoff wheel, and then get in there with the hard disc and just keep grinding that out until we get that curve to match, and then weld it up. So obviously I can't do that right now, so we're just gonna leave that one alone and keep on going. Right, so for our bag, we have these plates right here. So I bought, when I ordered some bag mounts for the back, basically the price was excellent to order a kit that come with these plus some other style ones. And then I ordered another kit what I needed. I didn't need these. I knew I didn't need these. I wasn't going to put it on top of the axle on the car, but I said these are great to have, like in case we need them for the front. Who knows? And the price was literally the same. So the bottom of our airbag has 3 mounting holes. Now you can use either of these. You can use 1, you can use 2, or you can use all 3. For this, the spread is going to work where it's just going to be the center bolt. So no matter which way you turn it, you don't get the outers. And that's okay, because the bag is going to be mounted with doubles in the top. And this will work great in the bottom, because we have this square cutout of our control arm right here, which these control arms are beautifully powder coated, so it's going to suck to cut these up, and I really didn't want to cut these up and weld on these. We might honestly weld a bolt-on plate to these, now that I think about it, that utilizes these bolts right here for the factory shocks. So instead of welding this plate to this arm, and then if the arm has to be replaced, we have to redo all these mounts. We'll actually just, that's what we'll do, is we'll weld a plate to this so that this whole thing can basically bolt in there. Something like that, or maybe like that. Yeah. Maybe we'll do something like that. And then we can take our bag. It'll be spaced up a little bit more, which all the clearances are beautiful. There's nothing hitting or anything like that. And we'll be able to just bolt it through the bottom and the center. Then when we get to the top, we have these 2, and we can use something on the top. I think the top mount's going to have to be custom made. These are these other ones that I have. I'll show you real fast. So this is the style that we were going to use on the back. They look pretty freaking good. Actually, they would freaking weld into our mounts. Amazing. Man, that's tough. Maybe we should use that, you know. I don't know if we have the distance. Let's see here, and then we could always do something else for the bottom. That right there, dude, that's tempting to do. Wow. I really didn't expect that to look that good. I mean, if it was mounted up there, dude, we would be so, I mean, I can weld that gap into them pieces. This is exactly why I just said that we don't go ahead and put these gussets on, because you don't know what's, you know, going to be in there. And actually, I wouldn't even have to weld the gap. I can literally bend these flares up a little bit more. Dude, I think that's going to be the ticket right there. And then it's just going to be a matter of just on the lowers building the correct thickness plate and stuff to mount that to. All right, now to get these alignment tabs to swing down, so obviously this tab can't go down because it'll hit that. All you're gonna have to do, if you need to bring the bolt forward, all right, on the alignment, is you would flip it. Well, not like that. You flip it like that. Okay, that bring the bolt forward, and then you'd have that second hole, that would be the bolt forward. Third hole would be where the bolt's at now. So you can literally just run the tabs like that, and you'll be able to get your full sweep. Last hole would be right there, and then that hole will be right there too. So I think we're just going to run the tabs in this direction. There's really no rule on how you run them tabs. The alignment tabs, that's just how I had them during mock-up. We just tack this on. I'm thinking, I studied this a little bit more. I don't know if I want to cut these side pieces back at an angle yet or not. So I just kind of tacked them. I can easily cut these tacks loose. I think we're going to order a 180 gusset, like a 180 spiderweb gusset, if I can find it. And that will give it some, a little bit more. I mean, I guess with it burnt into here, maybe we don't need that actually, now that I look at all this. Maybe by the time we weld all down this to this plate, we don't need it. But if we wanted to put some kind of gusset across here, went ahead and grinded the paint out on the bench. It's super easy. Definitely won't be buying any more of these plates with paint on them. I think this was the cheapest one. I didn't purposely seek out a plate with paint on it or anything, but I think I'd pay a couple extra bucks to have it just raw, and definitely not with the metal coating crap that's all over it. Forgot the name of it. We just went over it in Brandon's welding video that we did on his channel last night, but I've already forgot it. If we could just get raw steel, that'd be amazing. So I think that's amazing. Again, this is the reason why we don't do all this stuff, because now that we were just talking about the brake lines and the air lines using a bulkhead in the frame rail, we can see that that's not what we need to do at all. Like it would be in our way. So I need to pull that forward. It's a little close to the frame rail in the back. You can get probably 5 driver's license, 4 driver's license stacked up, and 5 or 6 driver's license stacked up. It feels like back there right now. And the bag doesn't balloon out when it squishes. It just corrugates in. And I haven't changed the depth of the bracket, so that's that bracket. I don't think we'd have any problem at all with that airbag. Yeah, we got lots of room. That's probably 1/4 of an inch. Probably definitely more than what I had thought with my driver's license measurements. But we can monitor to make sure it's not hitting for sure when we move the car up and down. Once we put some weight on it, we'll test it. So if this works out, that's gonna be phenomenal. That's clean. That ties all that in. That boxes all that in. We do have room still to go down. We're gonna max the ball joint out before it ever touches any of that, though. but we will be checking all that. Now all we would need to do is just figure out basically the bottom mounts down here and how we want to do them. So we're going to go ahead and look at this in a ride height and bag height test, basically. And that's what we have our blocks for. So this is going to be ride height. I want to make sure how much I can squish the bag at bagged height, though. Bagged height was 5 inches, so that should be, I think it was a 4x4 and a 2x4 on top of that block. And I can already see now that we're squishing our bag against this metal control arm brace. Don't mean we can't cut it out, but I can already see that as slightly of an issue. But, and we're still on our mount. Might just need to brace our mount up more. That's still not all the way laid out. And we're squishing our bags pretty freaking good right there. I think we would just need to clearance the control arms right here where they're hitting. So that bag is squished. So that's bagged height. All right, so definitely we need clearancing of that. Let's go back to ride height. Ride height looked like there was no issue. So definitely no issue at ride height. And we would have plenty of extension, I think, to get us where we need to be. So I think this upper plate needs to be clearance some, or that bag brought up.